Make some noise. It's time for our second top four of the Gdańsk Regional Championships. Paul Hinta versus Federico Camporesi.
And it's Mousehold and that Volcarona leading out of the gates for Paul, and the classic lead of Pelipper and Basque Legion for Federico. Federico wanting to put a lot of pressure on the board right off the bat here. Probably trying to pressure the Mousehold, trying to knock it out early in this match, so you take away the redirection from the Volcarona and any other Pokemon on Paul's side of the field. But Volcarona does have the opportunity to maybe start trying to set up those Quiver Dances and start to get themselves into a little bit of a better position, but those heat waves are not going to be doing so much damage in the rain.
Mousehold can, of course, go for Follow Me to keep the Volcarona a little bit safer so it can go for those setup moves. As it is, time for a terrestrialization here on our very first turn of this fascinating top four matchup. It will be the Volcarona going for its Terra Fairy, keeping itself safe not only from water-type moves from Basque Legion, but also the flying-type moves that can threaten it down from Pelipper, both of which would have been super effective, and Mousehold going for the Follow Me. So Volcarona keeping itself as safe as it possibly can here. Wave Crash now connecting down, boosted by the rain with the Choice Band, enough to one-hit knockout that Mousehold.
Ring that bell. It is a one-hit knockout on turn one of this top four set in the Gdańsk Regional Championships. And of course, Quiver Dance coming out from this Volcarona, getting itself boosted up. That Terra Fairy in combination with the special defense boost is going to make sure that it's taking that little bit less damage from the Pelipper, but it's not choosing to go for any damage, instead taking speed control for speed control and getting that Tailwind boost.
Tailwind is boosting the speed of every Pokemon over on Federico's side of the field for a few turns, whereas Volcarona only has a boost to its own speed thanks for going for that Quiver Dance. Now it's time for Paul to decide which Pokemon to bring in from the back. Yes, losing the Mousehold very early, but only time will tell whether the Mousehold did all the job that it needed to there.
If you bring in the Rillaboom here for Paul, you do leave Federico with a choice to make. Do you go for then the Terra onto the Basque Legion to try to protect it from a Grassy Glide? It is a Terra Grass, so would turn into a resistance there and would outspeed the Volcarona as well. But if you do go for the Terra, then you open yourself up to a Fake Out, and these are the sort of little mind games. At this point in the tournament, you can't ignore the option to go for a Fake Out into a potentially terroring Basque Legion and then follow up with a Heat Wave. Even in the rain, it is still super effective, and you have got a boost to your special attack. That could be a way for Paul to sort of get themselves a little bit more on the front foot.
It's something we've seen many times in the past. Trainers making that massive call to fake out what is once a Ghost type, but terrestrializing away from that. Here comes our Chaldon, though, coming in, potentially about to receive a free boost to its stamina, and it does, with the Rillaboom going for the fake out into that slot. So it's already going to be dealing out more damage with Body Press than it would have been able to otherwise. Hurricane, super effective into the Rillaboom with the Assault Vest, takes it more comfortably, and it gets the Confusion.
A cheeky little confusion there coming out from the Hurricane, but a Terra Blast is the follow-up. It's not a Heat Wave whatsoever. It goes into that. Our Chaladon's going to be doing neutral damage, and yeah, pretty respectable there. Not taken down damage at all from the rain, but our Chaladon with that Assault Vest hangs on like a champ.
Absolutely does. It's the Assault Vest so nice for patching up our Chaldon's slightly weaker special defensive side, but it's still a lot of damage on Federico's Archaldon there. You wonder if it's the Rillaboom lurking in the back for Federico as well, able to get the stamina boosted up even further with Bullet Seed.
I'm wondering whether or not the Basque Legion in the back actually could cause Federico a little bit of a problem later down the line. If Pelipper gets taken down, well, it's not going to be this turn because of that confusion. Rillaboom hits itself, and Flash Cannon does launch its way into that Fairy-type Volcarona.
But it takes it so well thanks to the boost to the special defense it received. But how about this Weather Ball? It's another special attack. Volcarona able to hang on here, but it seems like it might not be around for too much longer. The Quiver Dance now boosting up the speed even further, hoping to further outspeed the Pokemon over on Federico's side of the field. It was Pelipper and Archaldon going first now, but with another speed boost, it might be Volcarona with the advantage in this next turn.
And Rillaboom does have a little bit of extra damage up its sleeve with a Grassy Glide, but I think the Volcarona has taken too much damage this turn for Paul to be able to deal with very effectively. It's probably, even after that extra special defense boost, not going to be able to take another Flash Cannon from our Chaladon, but Paul really does want, Federico really does want to be able to preserve this Pelipper for the late game. He's not going to do that this turn, though.
Grassy Glide now heading right into the Pelipper. Now the Volcarona's fast enough to outspeed the Archaladon. Terra Fairy, Terra Blast, is it going to be enough to secure the knockout? No, it's not. Archaladon hangs on with 9 HP.
And it's going to be able to reply with another Flash Cannon into that Volcarona.
It is. It is the Volcarona down now, and along with it, Paul's Terrestrialization option.
And Rillaboom has acted this turn, so that is it for now. Well, no, Pelipper, it's still got a Hurricane going. It's going to be able to pick up the knockout here. Paul is down to his final Pokemon. Federico has all of their Pokemon left available to them. Archaladon just hanging on. Pelipper having a little bit of health left, but there are 2 Pokemon in the back. A 50% health, roughly, Basculegion, and 1 Pokemon that has yet to be revealed.
Had Rillaboom been able to hit through that confusion there, that Pelipper could have been down and out, doing Federico down to 3 Pokemon, but as it is, the Hurricane picking up that really lovely confusion there. Well, lovely if you're Federico. And Sneasler joining the field now. Grassy Seed, giving it a boost to its defense. Doesn't matter too much in the face of these 2 special attackers. Is also very vulnerable to flying-type moves coming out from Pelipper with the Terrestrialization option spent.
Yeah, it's not the greatest position for this Sneasler to be. We've seen it in previous matches where this Sneasler comes out in the end game, and sometimes where there's a Dire Claw, there is a way, but this Sneasler can only target 1 Pokemon at a time. It doesn't have a Focus Sash at its disposal. It is going to be able to pick up the KO on the Pelipper here, but the Archaladon is going to be able to respond with an Electroshock.
And a boost to its special attack here is going off in 1 turn thanks to being used in the rain, whereas ordinarily it would take 2 turns to go off. How much damage is it going to do? Sneasler is hardly the bulkiest of Pokemon, not enough for the 1-hit knockout. And Federico, you know, has the option now to just switch in the Basculegion and not give Paul the luxury of knowing what the final Pokemon was in the bag.
2 Pokemon left, 2 Pokemon that can target down this Sneasler and pick up the KO. Of course, Last Respects has got that much more powerful. These moves are guaranteed to be able to land their mark onto the Sneasler. So it is really down to these 2 trainers to start thinking about their adaptations going into Game 2. But it looks like Federico is 1 game closer to making our finals here in Gdańsk.
I love that you call out that it's both trainers that need to make their adaptations, because yes, Paul down 1 game so far, it looks like here. But how is Federico going to adapt, even though they won, thinking that Paul might adapt in response, given that they lost? All of these mind games going on. Sneasler down and out. Paul just taking a little bit of extra time there to be able to adjust the game plan heading into Game 2. And I think certainly if you're Paul, you want to be able to get more out of the Pokemon you're leaning into. And there it was Volcarona being set up with Quiver Dance.
Yeah, so the Volcarona was in a bit of a precarious position right from the start. When Federico is leading his rain options, there's just so much damage there on the board. You can pretty freely with Basculegion target down into the Volcarona. If the Mousehold goes for Follow Me, fine. The Mousehold gets knocked out, it goes down, and there's less redirect, in fact, no redirection options left for Paul to be able to utilize. But if the Volcarona just goes for a Quiver Dance, maybe Paul tries to make a read, the Volcarona could just go down turn 1. So I think it's a really solid lead for Federico to be able to lean their way into. And I think the Dragonite is the obvious adaptation to the rain lead that Federico went to. But if you do that, and Federico adjusts and just brings the Archaladon in the lead, then you can be in a bit of a sticky situation as well.
I mean, the Rillaboom for Paul is at least threatening the Basculegion and the Pelipper immediately. He's also threatening high horsepower into the Archaladon, gives it a boost to its stamina, but at least it is super effective damage. It's physical attack as well, and Archaladon takes those much better than its special attacks. But with, yeah, Volcarona in the lead, it seemed like initially Paul was on the back foot, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think you don't have the option either to go for something like King Gambit, like Michelle Kelsch was trying to play against Federico Camporesi, to try to put pressure on that Basculegion. You could maybe opt to go for a Basculegion of your own. It's carrying the Choice Scarf. Last Respects before any KOs are made are pretty weak, so maybe there's a little bit of an option there.
Could do, and it's already time now to get into our second game. It is going to be the Rillaboom coming out from Paul, as well as Sneasler and Basculegion and Pelipper once more for Federico.
Dire Claw. that is the way that you can try to get through this lead combination. It's not the most consistent and maybe not the game plan that Paul is really going for, but actually more of a pin in this situation. A Diaclaw from the Sneasler covers a Terra Grass, and the Grassy Glide covers not a Terra Grass. And of course, with the Unburden and the Grassy Seed, that pins the Baskia Legion slot. And so Federico has to decide whether or not Paul is going to read into that switch out from a Baskia Legion, knowing that those two attacks could come into it. It doesn't matter whether you Terra or not.
Pelipper here is going to be threatening big damage onto the Rillaboom, but it was going to be the close combat onto the Baskia Legion there, predicting the terrestrialization, not able to get it off, and that's going to be the one-hit knockout, responding Wave Crash into the Sneasler for Paul.
Archaladon was the only Pokemon that could have switched in there consistently, and Paul had to make that call in the situation, but Federico knew that that call was coming and just went for the Wave Crash. You're one game up in this top four. Hurricane, after the Wood Hammer, is going to be able to reply. 2 KOs from Federico Camporesi against Paul Hinta here. He is getting ever closer to punching his ticket to the finals.
Federico is playing this so convincingly, just sealing the approval on this game. Now Paul has to bring in those final 2 Pokemon in the back. In the face of Baskia Legion and this Pelipper, it's going to be Maushold, hardly the most offensive Pokemon here. Alongside Volcarona, the rain's already set up. At least there's no terrestrialization spent over on Paul's side.
Paul had to make that call. They had to try to pin that Baskia Legion and then punish the switch from Federico, but just look at the effect of Federico standing firm in that position. Now you have a Maushold that's definitely going to get one-hit KO'd, as well as a Volcarona that's probably going to get one-hit KO'd. It can go for the Terra Fairy, but there is a full opportunity for the Pelipper to go for a Tailwind here. If you don't follow me away the attack from Baskia Legion, Volcarona is probably going to go down. And yeah, okay, you can Super Fang into the Pelipper for the 1 HP damage, but it's not necessarily getting you anywhere.
Wave Crash was targeting down into the Volcarona here. Paul just buying a little bit of time to reflect on how they could possibly be able to turn this around. At least Torn is able to connect down into the Pelipper now. So no Tailwinds able to come out of that Pokemon, and that is what was opted for by Federico.
Maybe there's a game plan here with Paul trying to wait out the rain, try to get the sacrifice the Maushold here, go for the follow me redirection, get a Quiver Dance up. But because Federico has all 4 Pokemon, it is a little bit of a difficult call to be making in this position. If you don't get the Quiver Dances going and you don't get maybe a double protect is what he probably need to be able to sort of work that game plan through. It is technically possible, but it's quite a bit of an ask, especially when that Pelipper just gets on out of there.
When a Pokemon is able to set up and it's supported by a supportive Pokemon like Maushold, there could be a way, but yeah, the advantage so squarely here for Federico right now. Would need multiple Quiver Dance on this Volcarona, and of course, will it have the gas in the tank to be able to withstand many attacks? At least Pelipper's not going to be acting this turn, what with Archaladon hitting the field, is going for his Terra Fairy. Maushold bravely going for his Follow Me in the face of this very threatening Baskia Legion right now. Just a Wave Crash. We know from the first game is going to be enough in the rain with the Choice Band to deal the knockout.
And that also removes the Friend Guard from the field as well, which was helping out that Volcarona. Of course, Archaladon, we know, does have the ability to go for a Steel-type Flash Cannon into that now Fairy-type Volcarona. So nice offensive threat. At least the Baskia Legion has been taken care of in this spot. That does open the door for Volcarona to try to go for a Quiver Dance and be able to outpace a little bit of the damage that this Archaladon can do. But this Electabuzz coming in, it's pretty fast. It's also got the ability to taunt.
It does do, but the Volcarona is able to get off the Quiver Dance, at least one, before being taunted. So at least it gets a little bit of a boost to its stats here, and now it cannot go for any more. And the Volcarona is a sitting moth on the field right now for this Archaladon to target into. Electroshot, really nice call to boost up your special attack here in the face of the Volcarona's boosted special defense. So now they match each other toe for toe. One boosted special attack for Archaladon, one boosted special defense for the Volcarona, just to make sure the Volcarona doesn't get carried away.
And of course, the Volcarona cannot get carried away anymore because it now cannot go for any more quiver dances. It's going to be recovering some health with the grassy terrain and the leftovers, but it is going to struggle to keep up with that Archaludon if it carries on going for electro shots. And of course, with the Pelipper in the back, you can always just switch back into Pelipper to make sure that the rain is still on the board.
Certainly can. Basculegion is down and out already. Heatwave not dealing enough damage by any means, especially in the rain. Flash Cannon now targeting down once more into this Volcarona. It's brought down very low indeed. The rain is stopping here, and as you said, Ben, Pelipper can just switch in from the back. 1 HP is infinitely more than 0.
Yeah, that kind of covers a lot of different scenarios, but the main scenario that you've got to be covering is just how much health this Archaludon is on, and of course, with its Assault Vest, even the boost to Volcarona's special attack, large as it may be, is just not enough to be able to break through this combination of Pokemon. You have to go for the Follow Me to take any sort of Terra Blasts that would be doing a little bit more damage to the Archaludon. That's what we're seeing going into the Electabuzz.
Yeah, Electabuzz takes that really, really comfortably, and now the Archaludon is left to deal the finishing blow to the Volcarona. Congratulations to Paul for making this far, but your winner of top 4 here is Federico Camporesi.
Congratulations, Federico, for making it into the